Today, on Capitol Hill, tensions rose once again as the confirmation hearing for Attorney General nominee Pam Bondi took a sharp turn into a broader debate about legitimacy, public trust, and the fragile nature of America's social contract.
Senator Cruz would be next, but he's not here, so I call on Senator Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Bondi, welcome. Congratulations. Can we agree that legitimacy is important to America's criminal justice system?
Yes, Senator.
Can we agree that legitimacy is important to the Department of Justice, which in part administers our criminal justice system?
Yes, Senator.
And if Americans come to believe that our criminal justice system or our Department of Justice is acting illegitimately, that makes Americans less likely to accept the results of that system, does it not?
Yes, Senator.
And that makes Americans less likely to follow the substantive laws that we pass that are administered by the Department of Justice. Isn't that true?
Yes, Senator.
And if that happens, we have chaos, don't we?
Chaos.
And the social contract is breached, isn't it?
Yes.
Do you remember a person by the name of Michael Avenatti?
Yes.
Several years ago, he was a media star here in Washington.
An attorney, correct?
Yes. He was a media star. And many members of our media loved him because he persistently bashed Donald Trump. And he was on TV every day. He was on CNN more than Wolf Blitzer. Do you know where Mr. Avenatti is today?
I believe he's sitting in prison, Senator.
He's in jail because he was a crook. And the Department of Justice helped put him there, didn't it?
Yes, Senator.
Do you remember a gentleman by the name of Sam Bankman-Fried?
Yes, Senator.
Boy genius. So smart and so powerful that he thought he could command the tides. So smart and so powerful and so rich that he would go to meetings with serious people like Bill Clinton, like Tony Blair, looking like a slob, looking like a fourth runner-up to a John Belushi lookalike contest. And he thought it was cute. Where's Mr. Bankman-Fried today?
I believe he is in prison, and I believe that's from the Netflix series I saw as well.
Mm-hmm. Because he's a crook. And who helped put him there?
The Department of Justice, Senator.
Can we agree that there's some really, really good men and women at the Department of Justice?
Many, many great men and women in the Justice Department, as well, Senator, as all the law enforcement agencies that fall within the Department of Justice. They're out there risking their lives, especially the law enforcement officers, every single day.
Can we agree, though, that there have been and may be today some bad people at the Department of Justice?
Yes, Senator.
We don't know for sure because for the last 4 years, the curtains there have been tightly drawn. But I think a minority of people there, have delegitimized America's criminal justice system. The most destabilizing act that I saw in the past 4 years, maybe in the history of the department, is when Attorney General Garland decided on the basis of dubious facts and untested legal theories to criminally prosecute a former president of the United States. And not only that, this is the special part. He decided to do it after the former president of the United States had announced that he was going to run against Attorney General Garland's boss, didn't he?
Senator, are you referring to going after a political opponent?
I think so. Now, this is one person's opinion. That kind of stupid takes a plan. And I say that because, number one, this is America. That had never happened before in America. That's the sort of thing that happens in a country whose Powerball jackpot is 287 chickens and a goat. It doesn't happen here. And I call it stupid because it broke the seal. It broke the seal. It normalized it. There are a lot of ambitious prosecutors in America, Democrat and Republican. And I'll bet you right now there's some prosecutor in a particular state thinking about, well, maybe I ought to file criminal charges against President Biden's inner circle for conspiring to conceal his mental decline. And that's the road we're headed down. And you've got to fix it, Counselor. You've got to fix it. And here's, in my judgment, what I would ask you to do. Find out who the bad guys are and the bad women and get rid of them. Find out who the good people are and lift them up. But do it on the basis of facts and evidence and fairness. Because the temptation of some people is going to be, they're going to tell you, look, two wrongs don't make a right, but they do make it even. Don't resist that temptation. Help us restore legitimacy to the Department of Justice.
Thank you, Senator.
Senator John Kennedy stepped in for an absent Senator Cruz and wasted no time driving straight into the heart of one of the most important issues facing the Department of Justice. Before we go deeper, remember to subscribe so you never miss detailed breakdowns like this one. Kennedy began by asking simple but foundational questions about legitimacy, not political legitimacy, but institutional legitimacy, the kind that holds together the criminal justice system. He pressed Bondi to acknowledge that if Americans stop believing their justice system is fair, neutral, and consistent, everything downstream begins to fracture. Most viewers hear that and think it's just political rhetoric, but the senator's point was more structural. Once trust collapses, compliance collapses. People stop respecting court rulings, stop trusting prosecutors, and stop believing that law enforcement acts on behalf of the public instead of for political actors. When that belief erodes, the rule of law erodes with it. This is why public trust is not just a moral virtue, it is a functional necessity. If you're finding this helpful, make sure you click subscribe so you stay informed on hearings like this one. From there, Kennedy shifted to real-world examples meant to illustrate how the Department of Justice can act aggressively against wrongdoing regardless of public image or political convenience. He invoked Michael Avenatti, once a media favorite, often praised because of his criticism of Donald Trump. Kennedy painted a sharp contrast between how Avenatti was treated by television networks and how he was treated by the justice system. The senator's larger point was that despite the media attention, DOJ ultimately pursued him based on evidence, not popularity. The story becomes a reminder that political heat and media fame do not shield anyone from prosecution when evidence piles up. These are the kinds of deeper dynamics you miss without context, so remember to subscribe if you want more analysis delivered clearly and consistently. Then came Sam Bankman-Fried, perhaps the most dramatic figure Kennedy could have cited. Kennedy described him as a genius who believed he could bend the world to his will. Bankman-Fried's downfall is important for viewers to understand because it demonstrates how financial fraud on a massive scale can grow quickly when the public trusts someone simply because of wealth or proximity to powerful figures. The senator exaggerates for effect, but the underlying truth remains. Bankman-Fried's rise was fueled not just by money, but by the assumption that wealthy innovators must also be ethical. History shows that this assumption is often wrong. Bondi agreed that the justice system stepped in, and the senator used that to emphasize that DOJ, when properly functioning, is capable of taking down the powerful as well as the obscure. If you appreciate this level of breakdown, go ahead and subscribe so we can keep bringing you more. Rather than presenting the Department of Justice as wholly virtuous or wholly corrupt, Kennedy aimed for something more nuanced, acknowledging the thousands of men and women in federal law enforcement who risk their lives daily. He framed the institution as one that contains extraordinary public servants, but also, inevitably, a handful of bad actors. That tension is real and worth understanding. Large institutions can do good and still have internal failures at the same time. The senator's questions pushed Bondi to address both truths without pretending the agency is perfect. This kind of balanced perspective is rare in political theater, and understanding it is essential for anyone who wants a realistic view of how federal institutions actually work. If you want more commentary that gives you clarity instead of noise, make sure to subscribe to the channel. By the end of this exchange, what sounded like simple yes or no questions turned out to be a lesson in how legitimacy, accountability, and public perception intertwine. Kennedy's line of questioning was ultimately not just about Avenatti or Bankman-Fried or even Bondi. It was about the long-term health of the justice system itself. And as viewers, understanding that connection is crucial. If you want breakdowns that add depth rather than confusion, subscribe and stay tuned for more coverage.